Notice of a public meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas has scheduled a regular meeting on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in the Commission chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas, 78520. You do roll call?
Daniel Elkin. David Betancourt.
Amalia Benson.
Eliza Vasquez.
Aida Rodriguez.
Cesar Rodriguez. Bob Torres.
Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on March 5th, 2026.
Everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a first and second motion. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Updates and comments?
Daniel Leal. I just want an announcement to make or an invitation to make. We will be hosting here in Brownsville next week on Friday and Saturday a meeting of planners and some city managers and city leaders of cities across South Texas. So from Corpus Christi to Laredo to the Valley. And I want to extend an invitation for any of you if you want to attend. So Debbie is going to email you. I will email you the program. Take a look at it. You can join at any point because it's going to be the full Friday and Saturday morning. And if you're interested, just reply me back and we will accommodate that. Do you have any question? Okay, Friday is more about your typical conference with sessions, and Saturday is more about site visits. So one will be about economic development and another about affordable housing. Thank you.
Encourage those who can to attend. The calendar looks very impressive.
Pardon?
I said I would encourage commissioners to attend if possible.
Okay.
Presentation on the Downtown Renaissance Master Plan. Update will be provided by the Planning and Redevelopment Director and the Downtown Manager.
Good afternoon, Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Alan Garces. For those that don't know me, last time I was here, feels like a year ago. I don't know if that's the case or not, but basically at that point in time was to let the commission know that we were starting on the downtown master plan and what that was going to entail. Here today before you, I am providing an update on what I've been doing alongside Mr. Daniel Leal and Mr. Martinez Vega and their team throughout this process that we've been doing since August of last year, right? And we're coming around almost for that year to where we actually will adopt this plan. But basically what I want to share to you today was what we've been doing these last few months. So the plan for today is to basically, review the things that we've been discussing, get feedback from the commission about how we can move forward before we actually release the actual document out and adopt it. That's the study area for those who haven't been familiar. I know we typically think about the downtown core is kind of where we're at right now as downtown, but we want to have a larger study area and build characteristic areas and frameworks based off this whole study area to a bigger, broader downtown, right? So of course, part of this process is, much driven by community involvement. I would say most of it is community involvement. Like I mentioned earlier, we did start in August of 2025, where we had our kickoff tour and our open house where we announced to the public that we were undertaking this downtown plan. And now we're actually towards the finalization part of this plan, where we're working on receiving that final document from our consultants on, based on everything we've heard, our different type of stakeholder meetings, different meetings with the Planning and Zoning Commission, Historic Preservation Council, and City Commission. We've met with different types of stakeholders, whether they're nonprofits, our property owners, our artists, different types of stakeholders for downtown. We've met with them, had several different opportunities for them to provide feedback, what they want to see in downtown, what are we doing that's good, and what can we improve upon, right? So right now we're in that adoption phase. We are still working on getting that documented drafted, but I will definitely share that document when it becomes available to you. This is actually more of just an update presentation. I'm going to come back again in May to share the document with y'all and request feedback of that documentation so that we can do some minor tweaking and adjustments if necessary. So overall, this is basically what we've done in the past. We actually had an open house last month where we sent over 3,100 letters to property owners in downtown, letting them know that we're getting together for an open house to discuss what we've been seeing from our different types of stakeholders and what their feedback has been for downtown, right? So we had that open house. We had over 200 people come to that open house. We had to actually break it up into sessions just so that we can have enough space for the room. For those visitors and those property owners to talk to us and share what are their thoughts. So we had different types of tabling and events. We had over 730 responses to our online survey. And actually the website is still up, so people are still able to provide feedback even up until right now. So this is some of the engagement that we've done. We've tried to engage the community where they're at already, as opposed to having your typical town hall setting. We did have those as well, but we also went to farmers markets. We hosted Ad First Friday. We went to pumpkin patches. We went to more professional settings with engineers and architects. But we've met with different stakeholders, as I mentioned, like our nonprofits, our religious institutions. We've met even with our youth advisory board, right, to get different types of feedback from different types of members of our community that the downtown serves, right? So we've met with different folks in downtown to get their feedback on how we want to shape the future of downtown for the next 20 plus years. So this is what basically kind of reiterating what I just mentioned about what we did this past month. I know it's February, and I'm thinking it's still March. In February, we did have different types of our last engagement opportunities where we did table at Sombrero Fest. We also had that landowner meeting that I mentioned, and we had our last update to commission in March as well. And I'm actually very excited about this and to share this with y'all because I don't think people realize how fast the city is moving on some of these projects. So I'm wanted to dive in onto that on these next couple of slides. So as I mentioned earlier, that commercial core gray area is typically what you think of as of what we saw, right? What people think about when they think of downtown Brownsville, your Elizabeth, your Washington, your Adams. But we're thinking bigger picture here, bigger scale for the entire downtown community. And we're looking at different character areas that have come out of this, right? So this study area, those are where the 3,100 property owners got those letters from. So everyone there should have had that opportunity to participate one way or the other. And what we've been seeing here is that you have your art, we're seeing your, the arts and cultural district kind of with the MIDI, kind of bleeding into the commercial core. But you also have the connection and gateway, area for UTRGV and TSC. And of course, we have the Switchyard and Amigoland area that's, an area of the city that we really want to improve upon and look to do something there as well. So this is basically the different types of frameworks and characteristic areas of the downtown that we've seen. And what came of this actually was also a discussion with Valley Baptist and our health department, our health directors about creating a medical district, which I know you guys are familiar with that as well, where we are looking to create that connection, that corridor to promote more medical uses along Jefferson. It's basically showing this on this map here to promote, uses that collaborate and support Valley Baptist and promote different types of uses to help Valley Baptist along the Jefferson corridor area. So that was we were able to move that forward. And this is one of those things that we're kind of working in tandem with the plan, not even having to wait before it gets adopted. So one of the things that we talked about a lot, as you can imagine, is parking. I mean, I don't know why we had to, because parking is the best downtown and we don't have any problems, but here we are, right? So one of the biggest concerns that we had downtown discussions and comments and feedback was, the issue with traffic, with parking in downtown whether it's events or at nighttime or what have you. This is a key priority for the city. I'm happy to report that the city has funding available for a parking structure. And through this process, the city is looking at areas in the downtown to talk to property owners about getting their property so we can build a parking structure. So this is something that we're working through our capital improvements plan, our property improvement project plan. Basically, it's saying this is set aside funding for our next couple of years so that by 2030, we have a parking structure, right? So that's something that we've already discussed with commission, and we're actively looking at parking structures, areas to locate them in, right? So we're actively moving on that. We're also looking at our current parking lots, how we can work around the situations that we have there, whether they're employee parking, how maybe we can work a little bit better with the public about parking in those parking lots and maybe having our employees park a little bit further out. So we are currently looking at the parking situation in downtown, whether it's on street or off street on parking lots. We've also, at every town hall or every community engagement that we did, we were talking about a trolley. Someone brought up a trolley that at some point, we had a trolley downtown and we need to bring that back. So we've actually discussed that opportunity with a multimodal department, and we're actively looking at resurfacing the trolley and activating that online. We do have somewhat of a pilot program through the BTX Shuttle Connect. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but on Thursday through Saturday, they have a BTX Connect shuttle that works 7 p.m. to about midnight that offers free services through the downtown core. And what we heard, the feedback that we heard from that needs to be expanded throughout the day, possibly allowing people to use it, to go to the zoo and then come back during the day and visit the core. So we're proposing different stops and a different route for that trolley and the BTX Connect as well. So we are actively looking at parking solutions. Like I mentioned, the off-street parking. We're talking about a parking ride, and we're also actively looking at fixing our trolley and getting one of those operational, as well as the parking structure. One of the projects that I'm actually really excited about that I'm currently working on actually is another pedestrian type access in downtown. This is an alley project that I'm working on to activate a pedestrian corridor from the parking garage on 14th Street all the way to Market Square, and from Market Square to 9th Street, basically activating that alley, making it more pedestrian. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that area. It's basically the alley behind Dodici's and 956 Coffee, and basically having, you know, that area activated so that people can walk through there with lighting, and it's the only alley that we have that has these utilities underground, right? So we want to take advantage of that, you know, put some murals out there, put some artwork on there. A lot of the properties that are there between 14th and 13th, the city owns. So we're able to, you know, work on that and basically get that area activated to have a walking area from the 14th Street to Market Square for events, for shopping, for nightlife, whatever the case may be. But we are actively looking to activate that area. I actually had a walkthrough this morning with a couple of designers who submitted their RFI who submitted their proposals through the RFI process. But the idea is to create a safe space for people to walk from the garage to Market Square. So here are some of the bigger projects that we are looking at. I will say that there's been 2 projects that have been omitted because they're not ready for the public just yet. But those will be shared with the commission at the May meeting that I mentioned earlier, because they're a little bit more under wraps. But those will be shared with the commission before, because they're just not ready for the public just yet. So the things that we've been hearing a lot through the feedback in downtown, through the engagements and the surveys, was let's focus on the little things first. Let's get the low-hanging fruit first before we focus on the big picture stuff. So they want downtown to have more shade, have consistent lighting, work on the cleanliness and the optics of downtown. Let's try to power wash a little bit more. Let's see if we can get those gum removals there, the aesthetics of downtown, you know, because that livens it up just a little bit more before we can actually start worrying about, you know, bigger picture stuff. So what we've been hearing is let's just fix our benches. Let's get some new trash cans. I mean, they're always overflowing. There's flies everywhere. Sometimes unfortunately we have dumpster diving. So again, I'm happy to report that we do have funding set aside to now working on getting new trash cans and benches, and that's something that we've actively already are looking at. We've had different types of samples of trash cans, or different types of samples for benches, and the community actually voted on which ones they wanted to see. So we have our top 2 ready to go, and we're taking those to commission within the next couple of months, you know, so we can purchase those and install them by end of the year as well. Again, the trolley, as I mentioned, that's been one of the biggest concerns, or one of the biggest wants of the community, was to activate that alley again. So that's a picture of the one we got. So we're trying to locate that and service it so we can get it operational. Right now, we are mostly relying on the BTX Connect while we get the trolley on system going. One of the things that we also heard a lot was we need to give some TLC to Washington Park. And I'm also happy to say that this is something that Sombrero Fest is actively working on with the city. I will say that there isn't necessarily an actual MOU yet. There isn't some sort of plans of what's happening with Washington Park, but there are plans already with Sombrero Fest and the city to work together to make some renovations and some upgrades to Washington Park. That serves kind of like the nexus coming from the zoo, coming from the expressway. You see Washington Park, then you potentially kind of turn into the core area, but it's kind of like what we want to, you know, have a big like, aha, welcome to the core, right? So this is one of the things that we've definitely heard a lot when talking to our community. And this is one of the more bigger projects. You know, I will give credit to Daniel, because this is one of the things that he is actively working on. We work together on this project to see what else we can do for downtown, on how we can, you know, big picture stuff, right? This is not something that we can do within a year or by end of year. This is something that we're looking at probably 10 years down the road, hopefully sooner. But I know that this is probably something my daughter will enjoy. And what we're looking to do at Adams, obviously it's just through traffic and parking on site, just like any other street. But we are looking at possibly making that more of a pedestrian friendly shared street area. It's that street that butts Market Square, headed towards the university, all that Adams, basically making a corridor that's pedestrian friendly for very, very light traffic, like whether it's a trolley or maybe a small type of ambulance or firefighters shuttle, but nothing that is actively going through. So that basically means that you want outside seating, some renovations. You want a little bit more of a pedestrian flow with scooters and like a small scale vehicle. But the idea is that you have people walking, you have people eating outside. It's what you see in most of, some European countries. But basically this is what we've talked about with our community, and they're really excited about the opportunity to have something like this, in downtown. And it's something that we've actually do see happening. We through this process, like I mentioned, it's a capital improvement process. And what that means is that now that we have big ideas or projects in the pipeline, we can set aside, okay, the community wanted this, let's put funding aside for it. We've already actively done that for trash cans, for parking, and for other situations, but now this is kind of what we're in the direction that we're headed in. And lastly, this is more on the policy side, where we're working with developers, we're working with Martin's team, and we're also working with our Historic Preservation Office to have a little bit more living in the downtown core. Because people need to live here, then we need people to shop here and dine here, et cetera. So we're trying to figure out how we can accommodate types of living arrangements in the core, because right now you're mostly seeing buildings built to the lot line. When we can potentially have different types of building layouts to accommodate living in the core. So this is kind of the example of what we want to see for infill development in downtown for some of these buildings that the property owner may not want to have any type of commercial use, or we have a developer who wants to have residential type of uses in downtown. This is the type of example that we would recommend and show that towards them so that they can have this type of use there. We do currently have residential uses in downtown. We've had some motels and of course in Jardín and El Sámano that we've got online, but we need to see more of that in downtown. And this is kind of how we promote that. More residential uses in downtown is what we need to help support downtown and the uses around it. That's it for me. I'm done speaking for now. I don't have anything else to say. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to work on this plan and work for my downtown. We have a great team here, and I'm really thankful that they helped us out, helped me out throughout this process, and I'm available for any questions at this time.
Alan, one of the areas, you called it Amigo Land Shipyard?
It's a switch yard area, and basically where the rail yard went through. That's one of the projects that's actually a little bit more under wraps because we are actively looking at renovations in that area.
Okay. Because there are several acres there that is not being utilized right now where those older warehouses are. And they would make a great green space for us.
Agreed. I'm happy to share with you our next drawings and plans with you because we are actively looking at that.
And the garage, are you talking about?
A multi-level structure.
Okay. And so what, you said you had some good feedback from the VTX shuttle. Do you have numbers on how many riders they're averaging on the weekend?
I don't have that at my moment, but I can definitely provide that to you. I think what the data we can get from multimodal, I think my feedback was from the community is like, it's nice, it's great, but we need to see it throughout the day. We need to see more hours, more expansion, different days throughout the week as well.
Thank you. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Items for individual consideration. Consideration and action to grant a subdivision waiver for Old Lake subdivision, Brownie Estates subdivision, Barrientos Estates subdivision, and Tres Campanas Ranch subdivision, all located in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city of Brownsville from the municipal plating process and solely proceeding with Cameron County jurisdiction.
Thank you. Name is Sam Nunez, senior planner here working out of the planning department. And this is going to be a tough, follow through because just such a great presentation, my colleague there, Alan. But we're proceeding with these items here having to do with subdivision waivers. The first one being Old Lake subdivision, which is located, as mentioned, in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. This subdivision is proposed for 4 lots meant for single-family residential uses. As we can see, the surrounding area is mostly undeveloped or vacant land with scattered single-family residential uses throughout. Next one mentioned is Brownie Estates subdivision, which is also located in the ETJ or extraterritorial jurisdiction. This particular subdivision is proposing 7 lots, again for single-family residential. This is also along Boca Chica and North Brownie Avenue. And it is also surrounded mostly by undeveloped land or vacant with some single-family subdivisions already platted there or other single-family lots that are individual.
Ma'am,
Yes,
no-
ma'am.
Brownie, does that go all the way to near the landfill?
Landfill. Actually, I don't think it, we would have that information, Mr. Martin.
Is it?
Yes, it does extend further north,
Okay.
close to the landfill. It actually ends.
So is that a county road? Because close to the landfill, that road is really bad.
Yes, this is a county road because all of these properties are in the ETJ, therefore the roadways would be either in the county or within state jurisdiction.
So
No,
this
not the state.
part of the road is decent,
It would be county.
but it's in better shape than what's closer to the landfill?
I don't have that information about the condition of the roadway.
I just have a concern because closer to the landfill, it's really bad. I mean, a lot of potholes. It's undrivable.
Yeah, because this one right here is coming off of, you have Boca Chica right there. That area is a little better than, I know what area you're talking about, and it's a mess over there, but this road particularly is drivable.
And just, I guess, to clarify your concern, whenever they move forward with the plating process, for any new plat, the developer has to propose adequate access for the subdivision. So if it's in bad shape, the county, similar as to what we do as a municipality, they would ask them to resurface.
This next plat is proposed for a total of 4 lots, again, for single-family residential. It will be known as Barrientos Estate Subdivision. It is within our extraterritorial jurisdiction. As we could see, it's mostly undeveloped with some single-family residential throughout. Further west of this property is some city limits that are currently zoned for R1 for single-family residential. And lastly, Tres Campanas subdivision is also proposed for 5 single lots for single-family residential. There are currently 2 lots being proposed there that would have 1 existing single-family structure on the east portion of this parcel, and the other 3 would be vacant and ready for a single-family residential once the plat is completed. What's mostly surrounds it is either undeveloped or agricultural land and some scattered single-family residential uses. Planning Department is recommending approval of all of these items 1 through 5 on the agenda.
What
Make a
other
motion.
major street is that near? I can't tell where that is.
As per map, it's FM 421 and Correa Road. We did not provide a more broad map.
So it's behind the encampment, the BISD encampment, which they haven't used for years. So it's just the red part.
It is just the red part, yes. That is what they're proposing to carry forward with the county's plating process.
Do we need a motion for just 1 through 5? And then you're going to do 6 separately?
Yes, item number 6 is a separate lighting permit item.
So I'll make a motion to approve 1 through 5.
Seconded.
We have a motion to approve items for consideration 1 through 5. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration and action to grant a special lighting permit for the upgrade of parking lot illumination facilities for North Town Plaza located at 3457 Old Highway 77, Brownsville, Texas, 78520.
Thank you. As mentioned, this is a special lighting permit request being made by an existing big office or big box retail known as Northtown Plaza. This property is within a regional center district designation, and it currently fronts Old Highway 77 and Ruben M. Torres Boulevard. Again, the reason behind the permit request for this special lighting is to replace existing parking lighting fixtures, and what's been cited is that they simply want to increase safety at night for visibility, and also to provide visibility to the clients or people who come do business here. They've also cited some energy cost savings as a result of getting this approved for the light fixture replacement. This is the zoning map showing the location there in red. Most of what surrounds it immediately adjacent to this property is also RC, Regional Center District. Further south, we have an R3 multifamily or transitional residential district. West of this, there is corridor commercial, R3 district, and also an R1 single family district northwest of this property. As per our UDC, our Unified Development Code, we do have a section that regulates for this requirement for the lighting as per section 4.67 subpart E, allowed correlated color temperatures. This regulates the kelvins that have to do with the hue or the color of the light once it starts reaching those kelvins. As per subsection 4.6.7 K2, this also regulates the lumens that they're able to propose through the lighting. And the lumens has to do with what's visible to the human eye, how bright it appears, and that threshold or that maximum amount would be 5 lumens per square foot of hardscape. Once a developer, is proposing different lightings, there is a section that gives this board authority to issue a special permit or special lighting permit to anyone seeking to replace these lights that would meet with these thresholds as per the UDC. The planning and how it reads is that the Planning and Zoning Commission may grant this permit if upon review, the commission believes that the proposed lighting will not create unwanted glare, sky glow, or light trespassing. And this also applies to parking structures. This is just a quick reference to differentiate between the lumens and the kelvins. Lumens is what the human eye perceives, and the kelvins has to do with the shade of the light ranging from red, orange to blue. Once you start reaching ranges from 1500 to upwards of 7500 kelvins. Specific to what they're proposing with these light fixtures, the replacement is for an existing 400-watt metal halide fixtures. They will be now putting LED fixtures that will produce up to 37 lumens each. Again, this is for the Northtown Plaza, which is a 3.47 acre of parking area where these lighting fixtures would illuminate. They are proposing upgrades that would result in a total of 20% below the permitted threshold as per our UDC per the square footage, and 56% reduction in energy since they're switching to LED technology. This upgrade will provide an average of 4-foot candles or 4 lumens per square feet of illuminance on the pavement surface and a cool white temperature of approximately 4,000 kelvins. All fixtures and optics will be aimed downward to the parking surface, preventing direct glare, except when looking directly at the fixtures. This is a display or an exhibit of those areas that would be illuminated through the fixtures. This is a heat map showing the current condition and then the difference that the new lighting fixtures would make. The proposed upgrade is in compliance with our UDC in terms of the allowed total initial lumens per site on the hardscaped area method. An illuminance of 4-foot candles or 4 lumens per square foot will be the result of the upgrade falling under 1 lumen per square foot short of the maximum permissible luminance of the Unified Development Code, which is 5 lumens. So they're proposing a lighting plan that would produce 4 lumens, which is below our threshold. The proposal, however, would upgrade it up to 4,000 kelvins, which exceeds the established color temperature we have as per UDC, which is 3,000 kelvins by 1,000 kelvins. In the lighting, the Kelvin measure, it only measures the color temperature again, which describes the appearance of the light's color ranging from warm yellow to cool. So the proposed color temperature would most closely resemble a white light at night. This is simply a display of where they would be in range of those kelvins. So it would be a warm or a bright white light that they would be proposing through those lighting fixtures. Staff is recommending approval to grant the special lighting permit to upgrade the parking lot lighting fixtures of North Town Plaza as per the submitted summary report and photometric study.
Questions? This is similar to what we approved a few months ago for Sunrise Mall.
Yes, the special lighting permit is actually quite new. That first time we presented was actually the very first case. This would be the second, but it's very similar, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve as per staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second motion to approve. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Public hearing and action on ordinance number 235-2026-004 to rezone from residential single-family R1 to residential transition R3 to allow a multifamily development for a 0.87 acre tract of land out of the north 14.50 acres of the south 24.03 acres of block 115 El Jardín subdivision, shares 19 and 27 of the Espiritu Santo Grant, Cameron County, Texas, located at 1005 Robindale Road, Brownsville, Texas, 78521.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman and Commissioners. This request is to rezone from residential single family R1 to residential transition R3 for a multifamily development for 6 units. The property is fronting Robindale Road. If you recall, last month, this item was tabled. And we did have one neighborhood resident express their concern that this development would change the character of the neighborhood. The physical sign on the property, it remained as required by state law. We also resent notices to 33 property owners within a 200-foot radius and received no written opposition to the request. The surrounding zoning is R1 single family in all directions. The closest non-single family use or zoning district is north of Solid Drive along Robindale Road. It's corridor commercial, and that's more than 400 feet away from the subject property. The area is developed in all directions by single-family subdivisions. It's predominantly one-story, single-family homes on individual lots in all directions. The better image. The future land use plan designates the subject property as within the Transition Central District. This district is primarily for single-family use with an average density of 2 dwelling units per acre on a variety of lot sizes to encourage the formation of distinct neighborhoods. The applicant submitted a draft site plan of the development. It consists of 6 two-story detached units on the 0.87 acre property. The property is unsubdivided, so it would be subject to subdivision requirements and would need to be recorded prior to obtaining a building permit. But just as a reminder, we're not voting on the site plan or the design. We're voting on the request to rezone to R3. Staff's concern with the rezoning request to R3 is the potential impacts that it could have to the neighborhood. As it is, this site plan is subject to change. For example, the UDC does not allow an entrance off Robindale Road, or a residential driveway, excuse me, off Robindale Road. It has an 80-foot right-of-way and is a collector street. Also on this site plan, it shows an entrance and exit to the north and south. If you go back to the aerial image, there's a single-family home on both sides. So while it is entirely feasible that the developer will acquire the properties and build access to those roads, In the event that it does not, the rezoning to R3 stays with the property. And this is where our concern with the department is that if for whatever reason the development doesn't happen according to site plan or the property is sold, the property could be used to its maximum potential in an R3 zone. So staff is recommending denial of the rezoning request. It is our opinion that the proposed use is not compatible with the surrounding area. Our primary concern, going back to the zoning map, is that this would constitute a spot zoning because we're going from an R1 to straight to an R3 with no other R3 uses in the immediate area. Again, staff is maintaining our request to deny the rezoning request. There is a couple residents that would like to speak on the item, and the applicant is available as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to comment on this project, if you'll step forward.
We use USB still. Oh, so that we can use
Ah,
this.
ok.
But I
Entonces,
can put the site plan for you.
ok. Es que de hecho cambió.
Oh, okay. So
Sí,
you
eso
can
no-
show it to them. We just can't put the USB, but you
Ah,
can
ok.
take it up there to them.
Ok, se los paso.
Sí. Sí, pues.
Ok, primero lo voy a presentar y luego se los paso. Bueno, buenas tardes. Me presento otra vez. Mi nombre es Felipe Rivera. Ya habíamos tocado ese tema anteriormente y hicimos una modificación en el proyecto. Reducimos la densidad del proyecto a que fuera un poquito más amigable con lo que es el alrededor, que es R1. Pero ahorita el gran tema sé que es el cambio de R1 a R3. Pero tengo un esquema que se puede presentar como si fuera R1 ahorita. Actualmente hacerlo como con lotes residenciales sería hacer un cul-de-sac, una rotonda básicamente, y quedan unos terrenos muy regulares. Por eso es que queremos hacer un R3, porque sentimos que el R1 en ese lote en específico no funcionaría bien con el cul-de-sac. Muchas de las propiedades que hemos trabajado nosotros en nuestro estudio, en cul-de-sac, muchas veces los cul-de-sac no son buenos para hacer un tipo de vivienda y realmente queremos evitarle ese tipo de cosas a las personas que vayan a comprar los lotes en el cul-de-sac. Sentimos que hacer un R3 para hacer un proyecto más como departamentos, townhouses, funcionaría mejor con calles, áreas verdes, áreas recreativas, que le funciona mejor a la comunidad de Brownsville. Aquí tengo un ejemplo de lo que es un y también nomás como contexto, vi que en la misma calle de Robindale hay un R3 más enfrente, que es una guardería. Pasó de R1 a R3 también. También tomando en cuenta que hay un corredor comercial muy cerca del terreno. No sé si quieran verlo, aquí tengo mi iPad, se los paso.
Puedes pasar. So even with the modifications he's talking about right now, it would still need to be an R3?
Correct.
And also just to point out, they would have to comply with residential adjacency standards, which as per their current site plan is not in compliance.
But he's talking about, am I understanding he's talking about a cul-de-sac and doing some single-family lots?
Well, he's still proposing the change to multifamily, to R3.
Single-family use, not single-family. Immediate subdivision.
The reason why they would have to change to an R3 zoning regardless of subdividing into single lots is because of the lot size. The current parcel, it's unplatted and it's only 0.87 acres. Depending on how many lots you want to put in, that's going to determine the size of each lot. In the R1 district, it's required to have a 5,000 square foot lot. In R3, it reduces it down to 3,000. So it would still be, let's say, a high density, just that the only difference would be that it would be on their own, lots.
Why would they not be able to just go from R1 to R2?
What's that?
Would they not be able to get away with maybe something on a smaller scale in an R2?
Well, if they're able to have, lots that are 5,000 square feet in R1, R2 also brings it or increases the density and reduces the lot size to the 3,000 square foot threshold.
Only in R1, the lots would be 5,000 square feet.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to avoid. They want smaller lots.
Can you walk me through the resident adjacency requirements you were just speaking about, Martin, that they would have to do to bring it up to par?
Residential adjacency requirements whenever a non-single family use abuts single family. First of all, the main requirement is that there has to be a separation of 15 feet from the proposed structure to the property line. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be to have a privacy wall surrounding the development. In this case, well, at least the front, it is a block wall. I don't know what the sides and the rear are, but if they're also block walls, it would fulfill that particular requirement of the residential adjacency standards.
So if we were to approve this to the R3, and then they would then have to meet the requirements you're talking about to then develop the site,
Right,
or upon developing the site.
right.
But they would have that gives them a higher density.
Right, that gives them a higher density.
And walk us through the access again?
Oh, right. So the access as per code, a property, and that's why all of these subdivisions were designed with streets branching from Robindale to have their access points to every single property off of a local street.
Right.
Robindale, because it's a collector and it's higher speed, and because there's higher traffic flow, it's designated as a collector, and therefore, due to safety concerns, the code does not allow direct access from Robindale. The only person that could override that particular requirement would be the engineer. The city engineer, they would have to review it, and if they believe it will not cause safety concerns at that particular location, then perhaps they may waive it. However, you still have to consider that Renata Drive and Magali Circle, they're relatively close to what would be a proposed entrance to that property once it gets developed. Because right now the access that exists exists, let's say, physically, it doesn't exist on paper. Because since it's an unplatted parcel, not until they plat it will they have a designated access point.
So worst case scenario would be, we make it an R3, and then the engineer doesn't grant access for this particular development. So then that would just leave it in R3, and then we want to get these units, and then we're left with the spot zone. Is that inaccurate?
Yes, potentially. Well, they would only be able to develop or continue the single family use under the current zoning. Because right now, a single family home exists on the property. They would have to leave the home as is. Let's say in the future, they decide to expand the home, let's say that the change doesn't go through, the use remains the same, being a single family home, and they decide to expand the structure within the next 5 years, they would be subject to the plating process because, I'm sorry, I correct myself. We did pass an ordinance in December that doesn't require them to plat if the single family use is going to remain. So that would be basically the only way out for that, or the only option for this particular property.
So just for my clarification, so I understand correctly, the way the code is, the way everything stands right now, there's only the one entrance. They cannot do what they're asking to do. Is that the main?
Right, because they're gonna be subject to plating, and once the plating process starts, they're going to be subject to assigning a legitimate access point, and that during that review is when let's say the first red flag is gonna come up about the access coming off of Robin which is a collector.
So if we granted R3, any new development, or even, I think you mentioned even an expansion of the existing structure, it's gonna lead to, an engineer's gonna have to approve.
Well, no, that's why I corrected myself on the existing structure.
Oh,
If they
okay.
remain as a single family, we did pass the ordinance back in December where they
Okay.
didn't have to go through the planning.
Okay,
process.
so,
Yes.
so if we went to R3, either this residential development or any development new would need to get the engineer's approval for the entry point.
Right. Using, let's say, the hypothetical scenario that this parcel was completely vacant and someone wanted to build a new house on it, they would have to get that let's say waiver or approval from the city engineer. No, because that's why I was saying in the hypothetical scenario that this was a vacant property, that there's never been a single family use, that's when it triggers. But here, because of the ordinance that was adopted in December, if this house were to burn down and you wanted to rebuild it, we would have to let you rebuild it as is without having to plat. Single family, just single family. That's the only courtesy that the subdivision, I'm sorry, that the ordinance provides. Yes.
So really, the only thing they can do with this is single family
Potentially, yes.
legally.
Unless an engineer approves.
Excuse me?
Unless an engineer gives them what they need to do anything else.
Right. And a lot of the problem arises because for whatever reason, this property was never platted. Everything else platted around it and, there was designated access points created for each property, easements, but not for this one.
Yeah, and I think, I'll be honest, that's why I saw this as somewhat of a unique case looking at it, is because it's not part of the residential fabric. It just isn't, right? For whatever reason, it got kind of built around, all the homes around it don't actually face it on any 360 degrees, right? They all face the other way. So it is unique in that way. And that's why I was kind of leaning towards, why don't we recognize that this is a unique situation and allow for a different kind of development? Because I don't think it fundamentally changes the character of the single family around it. Now, this new issue around the engineer on the road, I think does raise some questions. I don't know about how the rest of you feel, but that does raise new questions for me.
Access is a problem. As you say, none of the other houses, and this is a collector street, none of the other houses have direct access to Robindale.
Correct.
Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to address this? You'll come forward and state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Mercedes Lander. I am a next neighbor of this project. And I'm very concerned because from our opinion, it changed the environment of the area because they are multifamily. Even if the houses are big, but the lots will be small and many people, many cars, the Rubindale, I guess, well, we are hearing about the problem for the access. But for our concern as a owners, neighbors, is the change the environment of the community. If you see all around, that is a big area, has the same smooth, the same type of lots, not the same houses, but they are still to be a single family. I think so in the lot could be 3 similar lots that you can see around. And for us, multifamilies right there as a bubble, because it's a bubble around the area, it's not a good thing for our property, for our asset, for our living. That's the thing that I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, if you'll come forward.
Good afternoon. I wanted to present myself. I am Jessica. I'm a real estate agent. I've been a property manager for over 10 years. I just want to propose these 5 units that maintain the residential style home. I believe it gives more opportunity to families. It's not a big development. It's a small project that we want to invest in the community. I just want to say I'm committed in doing something well planned. And based on this property, I believe it's its best use. We were mentioning that maybe we could add a gate to have a more controlled entrance. I want to thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So Martin, could they change this and maybe do 3 single-family lots with a shared entrance?
Well, once you start proposing multiple lots, that means you're gonna have to go through the planning process. If you go through the planning process, that triggers all of the requirements, including setting utilities, access points, and that's where, again, the red flag about directly accessing from a collector arises. And therefore, we would have to seek the approval or blessing from the city engineer.
Was there anyone else in the audience that wanted to address this topic? I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
We have a first and a second motion to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Commissioners have any additional questions?
They would be, yeah, a single family, like a 1 family per unit, but by that definition, not. The density is what all triggers the multifamily.
Well,
Right.
and just to clarify, as per code definition, any parcel that has 3 units or more on the same, or that harbors 3 or more units, or living or residences, it's considered multifamily. Because it's 1 parcel. No, well, we call it multifamily because of the definition in the code. It's very similar to, let's say, a parcel that holds 10 duplexes. People call it's a duplex development. No, it's a multifamily development because there's more than the 3 units per parcel. Yes.
I don't mean to belabor the point, but I really want to make sure I understand the impact of the decision I'm making. And so I want to ask, if we were to take it to an R3, and again, the road issue does not resolve itself, the engineer does not grant the new road, what is the negative impact to the property moving forward from there? I mean, at that point, are we just talking inertia? Like the owner's stuck, he would be stuck?
Right? Even with the zoning designation, it wouldn't be able to move forward because we still have to consider the site review process. And during the site review process, that's also one of the elements that's going to be reviewed. So yeah, it would take it back to, let's say, the single family use.
Are there any specific impact concerns that the staff has, or is this more of zoning pattern consistency?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so what specific impact, right? If we move this from R1 to R3, material, tangible impact of doing that versus we're just trying to maintain pattern consistency on zoning?
Well, that would be the main impact. It would create a precedent where basically other developers will see that it's okay to spot zone in other single family neighborhoods.
Would they be able to put 3 units on that without it triggering anything, being an issue? Instead of the 5 that they're trying to do? Do they
No,
downsize?
because it would still be multifamily.
It still goes to multi. So even downsizing the amount of units, that's.
Right, so anything 3 or more, and I'm thinking that anything below 3 or below 5 is not um, let's say, it won't generate the revenue perhaps that they're seeking,
Yeah.
so it doesn't make it feasible. It would, I mean, that would be the situation, that anything below or anything that's even at 3 is considered multifamily.
I think, just so the commission kind of knows where I'm at, and for the record, I think what I'm hearing is it's a parcel that really lacks a direct residential interface. It sits on a collector roadway. It's really functionally separated from the surrounding neighborhood, so I still think the unique situation maintains. I think the engineer situation is, the road and the engineer needing to approve it is a concern, but I think one that resolves itself further down in the process. But I think that make this property, we have to, it's not breaking its pattern as much as we're recognizing a unique condition. It's already different.
Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to grant the request for a rezone from R1 to R3.
We have a first, we have a second motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and second motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can we just go by one for the record?
Aye.
Nay. Oh, I'm opposed to it, right?
Okay, approved.
Was that an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
She said
Oh.
aye. Come back to me.
Aye.
This is a tough situation, but I think because it's a unique property, I'm going to vote aye.
I will also vote aye, and also because there was no written opposition, so, I will vote aye.
Just so I understand. We all vote aye. We got 4 ayes so far, am I correct? We're still gonna have the bump about the access, ingress egress, right? Correct?
Yeah.
They can work that out.
Right, right. They would have to work that out with the,
And it still needs to go to city commissioners.
I'll vote aye also.
We have enough, right? Motion carries.
Public hearing and action on ordinance number 235-2026-005 to rezone from residential single-family R1 to residential transition R3 to allow multifamily development for lots 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. Dream Brownsville subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at Bethlehem Drive, Brownsville, Texas, 78526.
Yes, so this request is to rezone from residential single family, R1, to residential transition, R3, for a multifamily development. This case was not presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was actually tabled at the developer's request. We did, if you recall at that meeting, we did have one neighbor express concern. However, it was related to a different development that was not part of the developer's development. We kept the public notice sign notifying property owners that there's a public hearing. We also resent mail out notices to 31 property owners in a 200-foot radius and received zero opposition to the request. The surrounding area is zoned residential single family to the north, east, and west. There is a residential transition to the south. It is a multifamily apartment complex. The property is located just north of Ruben Torres Boulevard. Just south of that, again, there's a multifamily development. And then to the west is a single family development. There's a better image of it. It's at kind of the end of a cul-de-sac. It is developed now. The street does exist. This is just an older aerial image. This is a proposed rendering of what the duplexes will look like. And the developer provided a site plan. So this is 29 units in total. That's 14 duplexes and one single unit for a total of 29 units across 4 combined lots, with the entrance coming off Bethlehem Drive. The developer also provided a property owners association clause that specifically states that lots 28 through 33 could be used for multifamily uses. This includes multi-story apartment complexes or duplexes. While the city does not enforce deed restrictions or property owners association clauses, this proactively addresses residents' concerns and land use predictability, right? So whenever somebody purchases a lot in that subdivision, there is that clause that they're made aware that those lots 28 through 33 could be used for multi-story developments, multifamily, including duplex uses. It is the department's opinion that this addresses incompatibility issues and property owner concerns in the future, being that people know what they're buying themselves into. This would not be considered a spot zone because there is an R3 district immediately to the south. There also, as Mr. Vega mentioned earlier, with these residential adjacency requirements, a solid 6 to 8 foot masonry wall would be required as part of the construction to separate the R3 zoning district from the R1 zoning district to the west. The future land use plan designates the subject property as a transition central district, and staff is recommending approval of the rezoning request.
I'm just curious, was that on the subdivision plat?
It was an amendment. And it's officially recorded with the county.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is open for public hearing. If someone would like to address this, if you'll come forward. If you'll just state your name, please.
Sí, buenas tardes. Yo vivo en La Montecristo y también nos ha afectado, nomás que subieron, nomás pusieron 2 calles, 2 casas y todo el agua llueve y la mitad de nuestro solar está inundado. Siempre, ahorita no ha llovido, pero siempre que llueve está nuestro solar inundado, no, ya no es igual. Ahora que van a poner esto, se nos va a inundar más o se nos va a meter el agua para adentro o qué va a pasar. La cerca está toda totalmente, ya no sirve. ¿Por qué? Porque el agua se está yendo para los solares. Y pues no podemos, yo agarro cheque cada mes y yo no voy a estar poniendo cercas cada rato porque para que no se vaya el agua para mi casa. Entonces es un problema que tenemos ahí. Y pues estábamos un poquito tranquilos y ahora que van a poner todo eso, pues va a ser mucho problemas, pienso yo. Y pues yo quiero saber si van a poner una cerca grande o qué va a pasar ahí, porque pues no queremos estar peor de lo que ya estamos. Y pues siempre ha habido monte para atrás, ha habido de todo y pues, las taxas bien caritas, pagamos bastante y está feo. Cuando llegué yo ahí, había ratas, hay tacuaches, hay víboras, hay monte, hay todo. Quitaron, ahora dijimos, pues qué bueno, ya quitaron el monte, ¿no? Pues ahora se nos vino toda el agua y sigue el monte otra vez y pues qué va a pasar, es lo que no estamos muy de acuerdo. Todos los que vivimos por Montecristo está por el lado de donde quieren construir. Y pues quería saber yo si van a poner una cerca grande o qué van a hacer, o a que nosotros estemos poniendo cercas cada rato, porque el agua se nos inunda. Y yo, ya, eso es la preocupación mía. Tengo yo, pues, no sé qué va a pasar, no sé por qué no vinieron los demás. Se quejan de que tenemos agua en el solar y no vienen para acá. Sí, es lo que quería nomás comentar eso.
Okay, gracias.
Gracias.
Can someone spend some time with her to explain after the meeting what's going to happen? Yes, sir.
Up here on behalf of Kappa Homes, we're the developer. And I don't know if, for the benefit of our neighbor to the back, if I might speak in Spanish or should I address?
Whichever you prefer.
Okay. Si me permite, señora, nomás quiero comentarle, lo que están comentando ellos es el desarrollo justo al norte de nosotros. O sea, nosotros llevamos más de año y medio o 2 años que no hemos construido nada. Esta subdivisión ya está terminada y nosotros elevamos nuestra subdivisión a Flood Zone X. El terreno contiguo en Dana, y esto es un problema que tiene la zona, ha tenido problemas de inundación. Entonces hay una nueva subdivisión que se está llevando a cabo. No recuerdo, creo que se llama Live Oak, pero puedo estar equivocado. It's been approved, Live Oak, and that's being developed on that vacant lot. Es justo al norte. Nosotros no estamos desarrollando ya desde hace mucho tiempo. Entonces, I'm going to switch this. Voy a cambiar a inglés. I want to thank the commission. I'm here to address any questions that you guys might have. We did originally have 99 lots approved for this particularly 20-acre plat. It was already to be platted, and we decided to redevelop it because we didn't think that the area was fit for 5,000 square foot mini homes. We wanted to build a little bit larger homes. We designed our subdivision in a manner that would take into account what we wanted to build at the very back. Now, to be truthful, we did not request the R3 when we first platted. We were always aware we would have to come back and present everything to the city. But we did develop, and we have a letter that we presented also to the planning and zoning team about, from our engineer, Ambiotech, where we actually left all the infrastructure in place, ready for those lots in the back to be able to connect directly into that. Furthermore, we have a 42-foot wide street, which allows, if you can imagine, that allows easily 4 cars to be going, 2 cars in each direction. We actually have live pictures, if anybody wanted to see, of 2 18-wheelers and 2 cars on that street. Now, that's never going to happen, but it's just to illustrate the fact that we actually did take that into account from the very beginning. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Anyone have any questions?
Hi, my name is Yvette Paredes. I just wanted to clarify some information. She does live on the Monte Cristo, so that's where the red line is.
Right.
So it's, she's referring to, yes, the construction and that they removed, that she called the Monte, and that's where it started bringing the water. So that's her concern. So she is in the correct, she lives behind that proposed land line that they're gonna do. So, she is concerned about, future, what that's gonna bring, because she noticed that construction on Dana Road affected her area significantly. So yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, because I think it felt to me that, he was saying that it did not pertain to that area, but it does, because she lives right there on the Monte Cristo Road.
Okay,
Just wanted to clarify.
thank you. Does anybody have questions for the developer?
Yeah, so I think maybe what is happening is you guys added dirt, right, to raise your elevations?
We, I think it'd be easier if I could show you a picture. So we widened, there was an existing irrigation ditch on our property. That had a width of approximately, I believe, it was under 30 feet, so it was like 20 feet. We actually widened that, donated that to the city and expanded that ditch by over 75 feet. And we did that obviously because it benefits the project. We raised the whole land above 21.5, so we're very high up for flood zone X, trying to give our residents, the benefit of not having to have to pay insurance. But also, I think I would point out, and we're very proud of this. As you know, Kingsway, right across the road from Dana, suffers a lot from flooding. So we provided not the required flood detention. We provided more than 9 times the required flood detention for the area. So we brought that to a place where the city really needed it. And again, it benefited us, but it also benefited all our neighbors because we brought that in to that part. And I can show you that picture. There's a whole file, but there's more pictures of what the project looked initially and what it is now. There's another copy here if you want to share on this side.
In any case, the city approved the drainage for the subdivision.
Correct, because as Mr. Reynoso mentions, it complied with the minimum requirement. In this case, they did go above and beyond, providing additional volume to alleviate some of the flooding problems that occur in the area.
Is there anything the city can do that would help with her issue? Because I think what happens is all that water is gonna just keep flowing off the backside of that property, right? That elevated property. I understand that, but is there anything that drainage wise that would help them out, or is that a question for another department?
Well, the question is for another department, but just something to point out or something to consider, there's still a site review process. Whenever they build on these lots, because of the size, the combined size, they will be required to alleviate or to propose all of the runoff towards the street, towards Bethlehem Drive. The drainage or the runoff cannot incline or slope to the rear into other properties. Aside from that, as we mentioned, as part of the residential adjacency requirements, they're required to put a block wall. So there's gonna be a block wall along that rear property line. This, again, would be a question more for engineering, and if approved tonight, it would move to city commission, and at city commission, engineering does present themselves. They're in attendance of the meeting for any concerns that appear during the meeting related to flooding. So if it does get approved tonight, I would encourage the neighbor to also attend city commission and express her concerns there. That way, the city engineer can directly address their concern. And also just to provide additional context, it would be similar to a situation we had last year on Dennett Road with Tradition Estates. It wasn't so much, Tradition Estates for a long time has suffered flooding problems. And they were concerned that the proposed subdivision across the street to the south of Dennett was going to increase that issue. But again, perhaps it's a little bit of a difficult topic to discuss or technical, but in that situation, in the same way as it is in this situation, there's two completely different runoff directions. One goes to the east and one goes to the west because of the way that it's designed to drain this, at least this proposed subdivision on Bethlehem Drive. It drains towards Dana, and the other subdivision, well, it should drain to the west.
I'm intimately, I know my neighbor's project because it's in our interest. So if I could, I can answer what I know. And the fact is the neighboring lot is bigger than ours. We're 20 acres or about 40 acres. Currently they're bringing in dump trucks, which was one of the concerns from our last meeting. They're bringing in a lot of fill because they're trying to raise that. So they will be giving that land gradient so that it's, right now it is true that it's kind of accumulates water towards the back. Again, this is not our land. This is our neighbor's land. But in their project, they are connecting into Dana. And I think Martin, you know, that they've been ripping up Dana right now because they're putting in RC, you know, very, very large reinforced concrete pipes to connect to the drainage district's very large canal, Martin. I don't know the one that's a little bit farther north.
Right, it's North Main Drain Canal.
But again, that's not our land. I just know a little bit about the project.
Could the developer, real quick, could you speak to so the only access point for the entire development is Bethlehem, right? And so did you account especially for the traffic concerns there, given that's quite a bit of a few units we're going to be putting there at the end?
I don't know if you still have a copy, but I can send you. The original project that was approved for us had 99 lots with a street that was 30 foot wide or something. Right now, we have a 42 foot wide. So we went even wider than what we had approved. And the units that we currently have, plus the units, is still 10 under what we had before. So we didn't only account for it, we actually built even wider to take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I second.
Seconded.
We have a first and second motion to close public hearing. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. What is the wish of the commission?
As per staff's recommendation and the HOA notifying, make a motion that we approve this.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make sure that the residents that had the concern heard what he said about going to city and bringing up those concerns, because I think that block wall that they're going to put up might help with that issue. And then, yeah, just raise it and make sure the city engineer understands your concerns. They can help you out. Okay.
And also just to point out, the city commission meeting is on April 21st, which is 2 Tuesdays from now.
Public hearing in action, an ordinance number 235-2026-007 to rezone from residential estate RE to commercial corridor CC to allow an HVAC office and warehouse for 4.526 acres of land gross more or less out of block 180 El Jardín subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 2500 Dr. Hugh Emerson Road, Brownsville, Texas, 78526.
Thank you. As mentioned, this property is currently zoned residential estate and is requesting a change of zone to a corridor commercial district. The purpose behind that request is to establish an HVAC office and warehouse use, and currently this property fronts Dr. Hugh Emerson Road. We did send a notice of this public hearing, both for this PNZ meeting and the city commission meeting that will come later this month. As per state law, we also put a physical sign at the property letting the neighbors there know about this public hearing. This is a buffer map showing the radius where we sent 31 mail outs to the property owners there. We received 0 written letters in opposition in return. This is the zoning map showing the different zoning districts that surround this property. South is actually outside of city limits, but north is an R1 single family district. West is R3 for transitional residential district. RE is also on the east side or the east boundary of this property. And as we can see on the northeast, there is a light industrial district and a corridor commercial district. Further east is also an R1 and an R3, both for R1 single family residential and R3 for transitional district. This is an overall map showing what's the uses that surround it. It's either undeveloped, there are scattered single family uses, but immediately east and west of this property are some religious land uses for churches that congregate there. This is a map showing the right-of-way that immediately abuts this property there at Ruben M. Torres. It is dedicated for a 120 feet of right-of-way width.
And sorry to interject.
Yes.
I apologize for the wrong street name. We'll make that correction. It's Dr. Hugh Emerson.
Sorry, that is Dr. Hugh. Correct. Thank you. This is a rendering, a 3D rendering of what that HVAC office / storage or warehouse would be. The store or the use would have a storefront or office as you immediately go in. And the warehouse component would be for storage of inventory only. So within the corridor commercial district, there isn't any workshop activity that is permitted. No assembly is permitted either. It can't be used as a salvage yard or storage of raw materials or parts. It could only store inventory that is ready to be sold or transported to another site. So very similar to how many of our Walmarts or supermarkets work, where they have their front retail and then they have a large storage component in the rear. This is a proposed site plan that came in prior to the rezone request. When staff analyzed the request, we found that it was consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use plan for this area. So therefore, staff is recommending approval to rezone from residential estate to corridor commercial district.
Anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic?
Make a motion to close public hearing?
We have a first, second motion to close public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have additional questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve as per staff's recommendation.
Seconded.
We have a first, second motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
We have a first and second motion to adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. 6:58, meeting adjourned. Thank you.